Well, good morning, and we are 8 minutes late getting on air this morning, and it's not because I was up very late last night covering the make sure that everything's okay. Covering the late night shopping, which was most enjoyable, but because um, you know I cannot believe that the people who are in charge of computers and boast how they're helping society can make such a bollocks of them and really walk away and not realize what they're doing. I normally tap into the news headlines in the newspapers, the BBC. I tapped in this morning, same website, same thing. Was it the same thing? No, it was not. They changed it all around, or they haven't changed it around, or you can't find the one the site that you want. So I look for others, and by the time that actually either locally or nationally, I've been asked if I want to buy a house or whether I want something to extend my penis or half a dozen other strange, odd things. I manage at long last to get to the news. Now, I want speed. I want to be able to tap in. Okay, you say you're not paying for them. Huh, want to bet? You think anybody does anything for free? They've got us taped just by tapping in. I help somebody somewhere to sell goods that I would like to buy. But look at me. I'm aged. I had a birthday the other day and I told everybody how old I was, so I'm not going to do it again. And I'm aged. And I know what news values are, and I know what customers are, and I know what trying hard to provide materials and services and advice and everything else, news particularly, to a viewership is. And they ain't doing it. They are so far up their own backsides with how to improve computers and to give a better service that in the end it is no service. It just takes you bloody hours to find out what it is you're looking for. Okay, somebody under 40 will say, listen to the old fart raving. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm fed up of hearing about what we do for the under 40s and what we do for youth. Society is embracing. It doesn't matter whether you're 90 or whether you're 10. We should be looking after those things and trying hard to provide stuff that satisfies all. And we're not. Everything is out of bloody control because the computers are in charge. People aren't anymore. So why should they bother to be trained? As long as they give a grin and follow the flim-flam nonsense of upper management, then we're all supposed to go away and say how wonderful they are. Well, they're not. That society is crumbling at the bloody edges, and it's mainly because of those people that say that they provide a service, and they don't care. They don't listen. I've had more troubles with my bank. They've swallowed more of my bloody money. And then they say they have an internal review and they found that I had no claim against it. Yeah. Did they ever ask me about it? No, no, no. What they did was they got around a table and rubber stamped it. Rejected, rejected. Well, that's what's going through our society at the moment. And it's about damn time that we actually got a grip, because we are destroying the world. We're not looking after those who are vulnerable in society. It is all gone to pieces, and it's about time that we got no leadership. I'm sorry, blonde hair, bleh, wicked smile, bleh, authoritarianism, bleh. No, none of them are any good. So if we're living in this sort of society, no wonder that our energy systems are falling to pieces. No wonder prices are going up. No wonder inflation, which we haven't had for some time, is galloping. It's about 5%, and actually, in some countries, apparently they're saying it's 5%, and it's actually closer to 10. And that's going to have an impact on us. Of course, it's having an impact on us. For God's sake, do we really think that we can live in isolation? We've got to get a grip as a people, as a country. Okay, how do I contribute? I contribute by mouthing off like this and saying, listen, somebody somewhere, listen and start to talk. But they don't. When they talk to themselves, they pat themselves on the back. It doesn't matter which party you are. Parties, political parties. Wow, the curse of society, along with the Data Protection Act, which protects everybody except the vulnerable. Yeah, our society is falling to pieces. And I say this after I had such a good time last night, because Lewis was terrific. We covered live for something like 2 hours and 15 minutes of a 3-hour extravaganza. The mayor was out, Stephen Catlin, going around making sure that people were enjoying themselves, checking on the displays in the windows, and eventually, I don't know who won the prize, and we'll find out this morning, I suppose. Tony and Nick, my colleagues, were out there taking pictures, but also feeding stuff live back to us in the studio. And we, if you missed it on Facebook from us, you can find it there if you want to watch a bit of live stuff. But if not, Tony took a lot of video and is putting it together today in a short program, so that you can see what happened. But it was good to see the high street and the precinct and Cliff just alive with people and lights and so on. There wasn't as much entertainment as they've had in the past, but it didn't matter. People were out enjoying themselves and having a good time. And I struggled home. The quarter to the 9:30 bus was delayed because of it, and I didn't get onto it until 9:45. And my little fingers were beginning to drop off. But other than that, it was a jolly good night. It was a very good night. And let's hope that that's replicated. I'm quite sure there are other things that are going to be impacting on us before Christmas. Let's have a jolly good Christmas. Let's really, really celebrate. It's that lot in Westminster and that lot in, well, I won't name it because you'll know who I mean, can't get their act together, then we'll have to do it for ourselves. It'll have to be a people's Christmas. That's a good slogan, isn't it? A people's Christmas. And if any of you think that I'm tending towards left wing, I've become apolitical. I don't care. I just see that our society is beginning to crumble. And it ain't the left, and it ain't the right, and it ain't the middle. It's the people. All these can have tags and slogans, but if they actually don't do things and try to look after their constituents and the people that matter, and that is broadly the public, and give way to flim-flam and computers. What do I mean by flim-flam? Well, the energy sector has a greenwashing. In other words, a company will say, we love the environment while chopping down trees. And our society has become very much like that. Almost everybody is flim-flam. Look at the wonderful things we're doing, only to be seen in society doing exactly the opposite. We've got to get a grip. I'm really, really very angry about things right now. And I shouldn't be. Maybe the old heart, but and I'm not even drunk at this hour in the morning. Oh dear, 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 dear. Let's see what the newspapers are saying. Jab results boost hopes of beating Omicron, or whatever. That's the Times, right? So the one good news, if you're not anti-jab, many people are, is that there's going to be enough vaccine around to fill about 114 million people. But that was yesterday's headline as well. So the Daily Star comes on to the real number of the matter is Britain has now been hit by shortages of Santa. There's not enough Santa Clauses to go around for demand. So they're getting £100 an hour and no chance of the sack. So, the traditional view of Santa is that some of them actually, under the beard, are sipping away at brandy and ready to fall off their perch. But you're not going to get the sack for that. There are too few. They're earning £100 an hour. Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie me. How wonderful. £100 an hour and no chance of the sack. Well done, the Star, for noting that. The Daily Express. Boris blasts bar humbug, cancel Christmas brigade. Now, there's a mounting number of voices and in a democracy, so they should be able to say, listen, we're taking the latest variant too lightly, that it is dangerous, and we better start doing some of the things that we're told, like putting on face masks, social distancing, and be prepared for some sort of lockdown. And evidence is coming in that that message is cancelling Christmas parties, cancelling nativity plays in schools, is people cancelling Christmas orders, and that the retail sector, the consumer sector, I don't know what we call it, the social sector, is once again facing a crisis. And is there any need? Well, Boris says, no, stop it. Stop saying cancel Christmas, because we can get there. It's only 3 weeks away. We can get there without having to dive into the most extreme reactions to the virus. Is he right? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that if they don't speak with one voice and tell us what the hell the situation is, we're in trouble, aren't we? Yes, we are in trouble. And we have been throughout almost entire lockdown. One group says one thing and another says another. And by the time they finish, very little is done. Only the fraudsters really benefited. People who wanted to put money into their pockets. The Daily Mail, why didn't they save Arthur? I mean, this comes down to the root of perhaps what my rant is about this morning. And the social services failed, and well, not just social services, I'm not just blaming them, but the whole of the sections of society which are supposed to look after little ones neglected to read the signs of a little baby called Arthur, whose parents they said, one paper says there was a bruise for every day of lockdown. The little boy was beaten to death, right? And nobody picked up the signs. And the mother and father's pictures there is butter wouldn't melt in their mouth. Butter would not melt in their mouth. And the little boy is dead. And we, as a society, could have saved him. But undoubtedly, what people were doing was filling in bloody forms. And that, in many respects, the computer and forms and the Data Protection Act really are iniquitous. And unless somebody starts to examine them with an independent view, don't listen to me. I'm just a ranter. I'm just a raver. But why don't we have an independent body of citizens plucked off the street? Not the do-gooders who end up on every board that there is, who never see things clearly anyway, because they have too soft a touch. Why don't we have an independent body that can examine what's going on in governance, in private enterprise, in finance? We have no monitor. There's no monitor. People are doing, and organizations and governments are doing whatever they feel like. And there's nothing to stop them. We're supposed to have a committee locally. I think it's called a scrutiny committee that is supposed to look at what the executive are doing. You don't hear about it anymore. At one time, they would say the scrutiny committee is meeting. I know whether it does or it doesn't. But to be quite honest with you, because they use computers and almost nothing else, the local council, local district council, and for that matter, the county council, is virtually not communicating with any of us. Oh, they'll say, oh, we've got websites. Why don't you go and look at the website? Well, has it failed to come to their attention that their constituents look at their own figures in Lewis District? 50% are over 40. Now go back and see when the internet first got learning, or at least Windows or our access to it, is anybody who's over 40 didn't grow up with it. We get confused by it. Oh, but no, that's the way we're communicating with you. What idiots. What idiots we've got in this society. And it's a time that somebody said so. Well, I've just said so. I'll probably have my head cut off. Well, they don't do that anymore, do they? Well, I'm not sure. I better be careful. I'm having a great time this morning. Mirror, make your mind up on Christmas. And really, that is, it says a message to the Tories. That's rubbish, of course. Is once again, people refuse to see we've got a bunch of incompetence no matter who is in charge. Nobody knows what they're doing. It's not just the Tories, it's all the other parties as well. And one of the successes of a decent democracy is that you have a very strong opposition. Well, we haven't got it. So let's not just blame the Tories. Tories, Labour, and the people who sit in between have become so indistinct. And then there are the Greens who don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know whether they're green, pink, blue, whatever. Nobody is actually worrying about society. And that's why they're there. That's why we pay them inordinately high wages, why we give them subsidized bars, why we give them expenses. They do what I do. They shout and they yell and they scream and they talk and they preen. Well, I don't get paid for that. I wish somebody would pay me. I make a fortune. But that's all they do. Yell and shout and scream. And it's so, hang on, we got some comments. Mickey Connors. Good morning, Mickey. Yeah. He says, if you want to find out about getting your head chopped off, look up the no-hide laws that Uncle Joe pushed through without the attention of any Yankees. Oh, I'll do that. I'll do that, Mickey. Mickey really gets to the... it's an independent body funded by the bodies they're monitoring. No, we don't have to do that, Mickey. We need new thinking. Now, quite often you come up with new thinking on your comments. Perhaps you should join this very band that I'm suggesting. I don't want to be on it because I'm biased. I show my bias and my bigotry every day. And yet I have no isms. Strange, isn't it? You can be bigoted without isms. But the fact of the matter is, if we allow society to go at the moment, what we're going to have to face is revolution. Can't happen. Oh, it's happened to many of our neighbours to their cost. Never mind. I'm really on form this morning. It's Friday, and it's almost the start of a new month, and it's coming up to Christmas. I just love Christmas. Anyway, just as an aside, do not go out this morning without being prepared for foul weather. It says that it's going to be scattered showers, but right now it is peeing down. It is miserable. The breeze is supposed to be soft, but in fact, I would say that it is a stiff breeze. The trees are showing that there is quite a breeze out there. And of course, that drives the rain. And so it's cloudy. It is going to hit 10 degrees today, which is a bit warmer than it was last night at something around 4, hitting the minus figure at some stage. But the fact of the matter is that it is not a nice day to go out. If you can, tuck up. I can't, unfortunately, and I know a lot of other people won't be able to, but if you are able to stay indoors, do so. Right, The Guardian, blow for Starmer as the biggest union backer cuts funding for Labour. Right, they're falling out amongst themselves. Why? Because of idealism. Any of them, either the Labour Party or the unions, care for people. No, they don't. They care for themselves. That's the point. And if in fact we're going to be criticised for meism and caring about ourselves, is why should we be criticised? Everybody else is at it. The only difference is they're making money at it and we're not. Oh, there we are. And last week or the week before, Boris and brethren put one of the orders through Parliament where the ingredients of the vaccination have been disclosed by 50 years till 2071. Mickey, I'm not going to get into the vaccine things this morning, but thanks for raising some of these things because they are important. The Daily Telegraph, a bruise for every day of lockdown. There you are, the little boy Arthur, who was beaten to death. And The Independent, why has Britain abandoned us? They are now saying that we broke a pledge to Syrians. I think it's Syrians. Let's have a look. No, I can't quite find that, but yes, I can. We made a pledge to bring all sorts of people from Syria, from the conflict there, to Britain, and we didn't. And they're saying, why did you abandon us? Well, why indeed? Because some bloody idiot in Westminster has got a form in front of him and doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know how to fill it in. Yeah, well, all the politicians will be well, some of them catch up with us later in the day. They don't get up at this early to listen to us. But the fact of the matter is I am talking increasingly to intelligent people, educated people, people who think about their society and are truly worried and don't just ponce around saying what they're going to do. Quietly in the background, they do things. So if politicians are looking this morning, start asking yourself a few questions. Are you really serving your constituents? Oh, you'll tell yourself that you are, and you'll pull out a piece of paper to show that you are. But common sense seems to have gone out of the window. And that is a most valuable asset to any society, common sense. Oh, did Tom Paine say something about that? A commodity scarce in the mid 1700s and a commodity scarce in the mid 20. What do we call it? 2100, I suppose. I don't know. Yes. No, in the 2000s. I'm not that old. Right. So that's broadly a look at the newspapers this morning, the headlines. Then, as usual, I try to go back and check. And what am I going to get is if you're comfortably off with £500,000, there are 4 ways to retire. And if you give us £250,000 of it, we'll make sure that you're looked after in your declining years. That's great. What I really wanted was the news. And will you give it to me? No. And you're like, lots of other, here we are, there's tomorrow's newspapers. That's there are a few other things. That was the Independent. Deleted NHS COVID app the use of it is falling. Oh dear. And that doesn't sound good, does it? Perhaps that's standing out in the cold last night. But the app in which we could check into restaurants and other public places and would also give us news about COVID. Apparently, a lot of us are stopping using it, and they're starting to worry because we're not getting the latest on Omicron variant. What basically they're saying is, come on, start to use that app again, because it gives you an update almost on a daily basis of what's happening, what you should be doing, so on. Yeah. Very interesting statistic. When I worked for CNBC a good many years ago, and what they found was, in good times, when people had disposable income and were playing the stock market and getting themselves wealthy, is viewership in CNBC, which was a totally business channel, rose sharply. And when actually times got tough and there wasn't money to be made on the markets, viewership dropped. Well, I think that probably we're exactly the same. Is when we're really frightened, so we start to look at things and make sure that we pay attention to news and so on. And when we're feeling happier and sassier, is when we stop taking any interest, and then it creeps up on us, and wham, bam, there we go. I'm having a good time this morning. The Metro, which is the London paper, the maskless forced to pay up. What they're saying is that the police and the authorities, particularly in London on the buses and the underground, are arresting people and charging them and fining them for not wearing the mask. The Financial Times: Saudi Arabia agrees to raise oil supply after a US charm offensive. Well, there we go. We just had a big conference, a world conference, to try to persuade us not to use oil and other the carbon-based fuels. But the Americans are saying, well, not us. So Saudi Arabia is going to raise the amount of oil it puts out. Saudi Arabia is the world's biggest oil producer by far, and the richest. And I don't know whether OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, still exists, but they dominated it. And whatever Saudi said, they did. So they can manipulate the market by cutting back on oil output or pushing it forward. And the oil price is beginning to rise. So the US has said to Saudi, listen, how about being a decent sort of bloke and putting up your output so that there is more on the market, and the price will fall, and energy will not be as expensive as we're anticipating. Yeah, I bet you it's a charm offensive. I bet you. What they said was, we're not going to give you some nasty candlesticks to throw around in the Middle East if you don't do it. But there we are. I'm in a cynical mood this morning. Oh, here we go. 4 ways to retire comfortably. The Times: 4th jab to fight variants. Right, okay. Well, I don't think there's anything new in that. We're expecting that we are going to be asked to take another jab, those people who are willing to take a jab. That's about it for today. Probably the only sensible one. Well, there are some headlines there that we should take notice of, but particularly is because our people in charge of our public safety and our social welfare and so on have so many, and they'll tell you, if you talk to somebody who is actually on the coalface, who is actually working, they have to rush back to the office after everything, and they have to make sure that the forms are filled in. And as for the Data Protection Act, I've been looking after somebody who is mental stress for about 6 years, and even now I tried to find out how she was. I'll identify the she because it doesn't identify the lady. How she was. I can't tell you anything because you're not a relative. The Data Protection Act prevents us from doing so. So this poor lady hasn't got anybody looking after her. Nobody. And the one person who tries, even though reluctantly, can't do it because of the Data Protection Act. Get your act together. And not least of which is, what really upsets me is if authority, if the councils or the government want to break the Data Protection Act, they've got all sorts of provisions in that they can. We can't, but they can. Our society is topsy-turvy. Really, one flew over the cuckoo's nest is, yeah, all the bloody cuckoos are in Westminster and other various governance organizations around the country. So I'm probably upset thousands, perhaps not millions of people this morning. I've upset political parties, all of whom will preen and say, look what we're doing. But there is no evidence of it on the ground. None. It is all complete utter nonsense. And it's time that somebody took a common sense viewpoint. And I know what they'll say is, well, there's no common sense coming out of you, Keith. Maybe not, but perhaps I'll shake up and make people angry enough to think twice before they actually, well, I hear police siren outside. If I was some other country, I would expect them to be marching in ready to arrest me. It's coming close. Perhaps they are going to. Well, there we go. It's getting closer and closer. Oh, it stopped. So it's somewhere near. Let's hope it's not an ambulance and that somebody has been taken ill. That would be a great pity. But where we are, I have no idea how long. Oh, 8:35. I was only going to be on for 15 minutes this morning. We were 8 minutes late. So I've been on almost 30 minutes. So I'm sorry for taking up your time with my ranting and raving. No, I'm not. Because I feel strongly about some of these things. And people say, oh, you're illogical, Keith. Yeah. Oh, that doesn't work that way. No, it bloody doesn't work that way. And that's what I'm challenging is, can't we look at the way it does work and make sure that we don't have children beaten to death, that we don't have hungry homeless, that we don't have people without proper treatment in mental institutions, that we don't have people pouncing around saying, you mustn't use this word and you mustn't use that. Boo, boo, boo. The English language is a fine language and it can express all sorts of feelings. And if you think by twisting the language and shouting at us for using the wrong word, in your opinion, is that you're going to change people's minds, think again, get together, use your silly words and say to yourselves, are we really changing society? And the fact of the matter is, bigotry is still here. Discrimination is still here. Feminism is still here. All the isms are still here. Yes, they get a little less here, a little less there. But you are not, through your activities, going to change them tomorrow. It takes time to change attitudes. They are changing, and we are grateful for that. But if you think that they're going to change overnight, forget it. And stop being useless in between time. I have an extra egg for breakfast, Keith. Have an extra egg for breakfast. Let me just say that last night it was a pleasure to be broadcasting live, which we did. We did a couple of hours and a little more. Nick, Tony, and myself covering the late night shopping in Lewes, following Mayor Stephen Catlin, who was at the heart of making sure that it worked. A couple of people from the district council with him, I think, but it was our mayor, our town mayor, who spearheaded this thing. He's a good town mayor. I'm not saying we've had bad ones in the past, but this one we've got at the moment is a good town mayor. He's a bit like me. He can be a bit of a curmudgeon, but he's a thinker and he cares about things. And when, in fact, he reasons any argument, it is an argument that he's reasoned, not just off the shoulder. This is what I think. It was a good time. It was a good time last night. I mean, I really wasn't part of it. I was watching a monitor and I was making comments to our two reporters, Tony and Nick, as they ploughed through the crowds. But it was painfully a great time outside. And when Nick was down in Cliff and watching all the activities, I could hear the noises coming through the studio window, because we're not totally soundproofed, outside on School Hill. It was a jolly time. And I think that we didn't have any bad behavior as far as I'm aware. I haven't checked the police blotter this morning, but we need more nights like that, and nights like that, Mirador will cover. So those of you who don't want to go or can't go can join in the fun. We'll let you know what the next one is. Okay. Until no, yes. I don't think we're going to rebroadcast anything later today. I'll have to check with Tony a little later. But we are completing our little series of 5 programs so that we can stream to you something that you can pick and choose come Monday morning. And I hope that what we provide for you is informative, is intriguing, sometimes amusing, all the things that perhaps we need in our community in the lead up to Christmas. So for the moment, doodle pip. Oh, some people were waiting for me to say that. Doodle pip. Ta-ra.